Hey everyone, we hope you all are well. For this video, we thought we'd talk a little bit about the differences that we're noticing between bus life and van life now that we've been living in the van for about a month now.
We know you guys really want a tour and we're excited to share a tour video with you, but we have a few things that we need to do first. We have some organization to do, we need to update our website and everything, but it is coming, just we're not quite ready to do it yet.
Anyway, here are 15 things that we're noticing that are different between bus life and van life.
Number one, we now realize how big the bus was. We went with a medium-sized bus and thought that it was going to be hard to live in that amount of space. It was hard at first, but we quickly realized that there were a lot of areas of the bus that we weren't using
to its fullest extent. The bus was 32 feet long, and that front section was mainly for the dogs. And it was a nice thing because the dogs could be up there while we moved around in the rest of the bus. But it mostly stored things. We didn't use that often, and we weren't up there very often. And so really, we could have, sliced off, that's almost like 6-7 feet right there. So that's one thing that we're noticing is that, yeah, the bus was huge. For sure.
Yeah, and so we realized we could go smaller, and now that we have gone smaller, we're using every inch of the van.
Yeah.
So nothing's really being wasted. And again, it wasn't totally wasted space in the van because Tuco used it, but he didn't need that space. Most of the time he was under our feet anyway.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. Number 2, Tiff can actually drive the van.
I can. Seriously, I'm just not comfortable driving big vehicles. I don't like to drive in general. So driving the bus was nothing I ever really wanted to do. I drove it once, about 10 feet. I just moved the bus like the whole 5 feet. So I at least knew how to operate it, but I really did not want to drive that beast. The van, however, drives like a car, and I've driven it across town a couple times, and it feels pretty good. I feel safe in it. I feel like it's manageable, that I can see really well, and I have my seatbelt and airbags and everything. So yeah, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, that's a big safety thing. Like if something were to happen to me, Tiffany can actually move the van confidently. She could have driven the bus, but it would have been a little nerve-wracking for you, I think. Yeah,
I just didn't want to. And in fact, there was a time that Zach went away on a business trip, and I was in the bus alone, and literally a wildfire popped up close to our campsite.
It looks like there's a lot of emergency responders at the trailhead close to our campsite.
Yeah.
And I had the realization that, I had the Subaru, so I would be able to, move myself and the dogs to safety, but I had the realization that at that point I'd never driven the bus, that I would have to find somebody and ask them to move the bus for me if I wanted our home away from the wildfire, if it spread. Fortunately, they were able to contain it. That was in Utah. But yeah, it was kind of a wake-up call for me.
Yeah, both of us have to be able to move it confidently. And in the van, that's a thing.
Number 3, we're spending way more time outside.
Yeah, case in point. One thing that we had mentioned before, actually, in the bus was that, we thought we were going to be outside a ton in the bus, but it was really easy to stay in the bus no matter where we were because
Good boy.
Because the bus was so comfortable. It was large enough and had enough space and had everything we needed in it that, we never really felt like we needed to get out of it. And to feel like you need to get out of the van, is not necessarily a great thing. We enjoy being in the van. It rained all day yesterday, and we were in the van most of the time, and it was nice. It felt great. But it is a small enough space, and there are a limited number of places where you can be, so that we do want to come outside more often. We all need to come outside more often and enjoy being outside. Where we are right now, the weather is amazing. That's by design. We wanted to come here to be comfortable, and we are. And it feels great to be able to actually appreciate this stuff more often. It's awesome.
It really is awesome. And also the dogs are getting to spend more time outside, which they love.
Yeah.
So Tuco's been looking out. He just likes to be a sentry and hunting squirrels and stuff, and they're
Yeah.
having a blast. So.
It's been a big plus to have the outdoors be a very real and necessary part of our living space. That's something that we wanted before we even sold the bus. We recognized that that was happening, and it is happening, and it's great. So it's good stuff. So number 4, we move way faster in the van than we did in the bus. That's for a few obvious reasons. The van's smaller, it's newer, it can actually go faster. The bus really kind of topped out around 60 miles an hour, and that's really more of a choice that we made. It was recommended to us to not go over a certain RPM by a mechanic, and we just decided, hey, you know more about it than we do. It sounds fine to us. And so at that RPM was around 60 miles an hour. And, you know, we were fine with going that speed most of the time. On highways, interstates, it's a bit slow, but you get there. And it's not so slow that it's dangerous. The van really helps us move way faster, not just going from point A to point B, but even just getting ready to leave a spot.
Yeah, we had to downsize our belongings again, and we had to be even more intentional about where items live in the van. And so when we use them, we pretty much have to put them back pretty quickly. We don't have very much counter space. In the bus, we had that huge, long desk, which I miss. It was beautiful. But we could put all our stuff on it and leave it there.
And we frequently did.
And we frequently did, yeah. And now, like, you know, every time you want to cook a meal or something, you have to clear the counters again. So we have to have only a few things out at a time, which means cleaning up and packing up and getting ready to go is faster.
It's faster, and yeah, I mean, you have to, if you want to get something out, you have to put something else away, and so it stays cleaner. And so that means that when it's time to leave, we can pack up that much faster.
Number 5, moving around in that small of a space with 2 dogs and 2 humans can be awkward. We knew this going into it, and we tried to plan for it. We made Tuco, because he's a big boy, he's like 80 pounds, lab mix. We made him a little den area under the bed. And so anytime we want to cook or pull the fridge out or something, we have a place that we can tell him to go so that he's not being stepped on. He's comfortable, we're more comfortable. And I'm really excited to say that he's been using that space even when we don't tell him to.
During the build, I fought this. I fought this little section, and I just knew it wouldn't work. In my head, I was just like, he's never going to use it.
We sacrificed a lot of storage.
There was a lot of storage space that could have potentially been there, and I was just like, man, we're gonna lose out on all this. But having him actually use this space and freeing up that floor space, huge deal. So Tiffany nailed it.
Stick with me, babe.
I didn't anyway. But yeah, he does go there by himself often. He sleeps there at night. So if we have to get up, we're not going to step on him. Frankie has a little spot between the 2 front seats, between the driver and the passenger seat, and she'll often just go there on her own. And that leaves the entire floor area available. Now, they don't
Not
do that all the time.
Yeah, it still gets awkward. We're still stepping over them, but we were
Sure.
stepping over them in the bus pretty frequently.
We'd step over them in a mansion because they
It's
just,
true.
wherever we are standing and where our attention is where they want to be.
Here's one.
There's the
There's
other.
the other.
We
Look
have
at
all
this
of this space. So it's just, and we like it that way.
Yeah,
but,
we do.
But anyway, so it's not always super easy to get around, but it's not always hard either. Number 6, travel mode and camp mode are basically the same. The way we approached living in the bus was that we would move around somewhat slowly, and then when we would get to a destination where we wanted to be, we would typically stay there for a good period of time, often 2 weeks, if not more, bouncing around campsites. The idea wasn't just to speed around everywhere and see as much as we could, as fast as we could. That's not what we wanted to do, and we felt like we would burn out that way. We're really happy that we did it that way. It was really, really nice being able to leave the bus somewhere for a couple weeks and then take the Subaru out for little excursions. That worked really well. But that meant that when it was time to travel, things were very, very different. When we would stay put, we would get everything out, we would spread out, it would just be, if we had to quickly go somewhere, it would kind of be a nightmare because we'd have to put everything back that we had taken out, which was basically everything. It was too much space because we could leave stuff out like we talked about a minute ago. So when we would stay put, all of that stuff would be out. And then when it was travel mode, if we were trying to go a large distance over several days, when we would get to a campsite, we would hardly get anything out. But even the things that we did get out, it was still a lot. And so we'd have to put those back and have a checklist of everything that we needed to do. And there was also just this mental, like, okay, we've got to get the bus ready to go. It's this big beast, and we're like, all right, let's go through the checklist, and move this monster.
Well, part of the reason for that, I think, is that we were driving separately.
Also
so if we forgot to secure something in the bus and Zach's barreling down the highway,
I can't check
he
on it.
can't fix it.
Yeah.
Now that we're riding together, if we were to forget something, I'm able to fix it. And there's a lot less things now that even could come open now because of the way we designed it and because we just have less stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's way easier to just be somewhere like we are right now. And if we're actually thinking about running an errand this evening, well, it's going to be pretty easy to pack everything up and head out that way. If we're moving across states in the van, it's not really much different than staying put somewhere. We can unload and load way faster because there's just less stuff. So that's been really nice. There's very little difference between travel and camp, at least in those mindsets.
And just last week we were at a site and we set everything up like you see here, and we were sitting there and it was just too hot, and I was like, you know what, I think I want to move on. Well, even with all this stuff out, we can pack that up in really 30 minutes and hit the road.
And be on the road again. And if we're staying at a campsite to leave and come back, we'll just leave a bunch of stuff at the campsite, claim it, and then be back. So
actually, that's a difference too. Is that used to the bus stayed at our campsite. Now we leave our hammocks and this little, I don't know if they can see that, but we have a little netted tent. We call it a gazebo. We leave that to claim our campsite, and if we need to go run errands, then we take the whole van. But just moving the van, all we really have to do is turn the seats around, and we're ready to go. Number 7, we feel way more confident choosing routes and destinations now that we're traveling in the van.
Yeah, so like we mentioned before in terms of speed, when we would go up a grade that was long enough, it would slow down a good bit. And if it was steep enough, it would really slow down. There was once or twice where, we went down to 5 miles an hour and couldn't shift out of first. That's not great. We don't love that. It was that slow. Yeah. And so, because of that, we would, Tuco's might show you his butt in a second. Because of that, we would look really carefully at all the routes that we would take, because we like traveling in the western states, and there are a lot of mountain passes in the western states. Some that you might not know that you're going to cross if you just type in a destination into Waze or something. So I bought a PDF. It's an actual little digital booklet that basically shows on a map and has a description for every grade, every significant grade and mountain pass in the western states, which there are a lot of. And it was separated by state, so we could look at Wyoming, for example, and say, all right, we're traveling through Wyoming, we're going this route, are we going to come across a particular pass? And if we were, we'd click on that pass and it would show us a description of that pass. And if it was like a long, steep grade, then we probably would not go that route. In the van, we don't have that issue. The van has, we can push it harder because it's a newer vehicle. It's meant to go faster for longer, and it pulls hills really well. And so, because of all of those reasons, we're way more confident in choosing routes. Basically, it's 22 feet long, so it's right at the tip of some length restrictions, but we haven't come across any yet, and we've been almost all the way across the country at this point. And so, we feel really good about it. If we pick a spot on a map, chances are it can get us there, and that's a nice feeling. Some of these passes out west are significant, and if you don't know what you're doing on those, I read a few stories, and that's what got me super nervous, and that's why I did not want to be caught off guard by going on a really steep incline or decline.
We babied the bus.
We really did.
It was capable of more.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to play it safe. But now we don't have to worry about it so much. In fact, we've already gone over one of those mountain passes that we had avoided in the bus.
Yeah.
So that was pretty exciting, and it wasn't that big a deal.
So number 8, we're more likely to explore further when we're looking for campsites. You know, in the bus, you know, we did not necessarily want to take it down every forest road we came across. You know, at 32 feet long, big lumbering vehicle, you know, it can't turn around everywhere. If it's a tight road, chances are, you know, we'd have to keep going down it until we could turn around or reverse as far as we went into it if we couldn't turn around and the road got too rough or something.
And that was one of the main reasons we thought it was good to have an extra vehicle, because we would scout ahead in the Subaru.
Yeah, and we would do that pretty often. If we came to an area that we were interested in, we'd go through the process of parking the bus. I'd hop in the Subaru, or I'd stay in the bus and Tiff would go scout. And it was an extra step. But with the van's a bit more capable and is a bit more, because it's shorter, it's 10 feet shorter, we can turn around in a lot of different areas. It might be a 50-point turn, but we can do it without damaging it or, you know, just totally tearing up trees and stuff. So that's been a really big positive, is that we can go further and have gone further, even just already on this leg, to get to a few campsites. We went down some roads that we wouldn't have dreamed of going down in the bus. And we were able to get in there and turn around, and it was fine. But we don't always stay in those, but it's nice to feel like you can go further and then don't have to go back to get the bus if we were in the Subaru, and then bring both vehicles back that distance. And because of that, I think we tended to look down sort of somewhat sketchy roads only a very short way. But now we're both in the vehicle and we're both just driving down. Does that work? Does that work? Does that work? And it's way less stressful.
That's true. That's something I hadn't thought of yet, that we actually get to pick more campsites together now.
That's
which
true.
is fun.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, I mean, it was fun before when I would scout ahead and get to pick the site, you know, but it's kind of fun that we can talk about it.
Yeah,
So.
it's good. So yeah, way more places.
Number 9, in the van, we can kind of take advantage of regular parking spaces and RV parking spaces. The van's only 22 feet long, and we found that if we can find a parking spot at a grocery store or something that's over the grass or whatever, we can back the van in, have the butt hang over a little bit, and we fit in a regular space, which is awesome.
Yeah, and even in single spaces, we can kind of fudge it. You know, it depends on how strict it is. If there's a ton of cars and you're fighting for every parking space, and yeah, we're going to be out of luck. But you know, if there's a reasonable amount of cars in there, but there are open spaces, we can kind of fudge it, and we can be in one a little bit and slightly in and out in the, you know, into the parking lot thoroughfare. I don't know how to say that. That wasn't it, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah,
and
we can hang out a little bit,
can,
and it's usually okay.
But it's ideal, yeah, like Tiffany was saying, if there's a spot where there's a curb over some grassy area or something, and we can let the rear extension hang over that, fantastic. And also, like, a lot of the places where we like to visit, you know, there's car parking and then there's RV parking. And if there are all the RV spots taken, we can typically get in a car spot. Again, fudging it just slightly. Nobody said anything. If all of the car spots are taken, generally there's going to be an RV spot available, and no one's going to say anything about a vehicle of that size being in an RV spot.
Yeah, we kind of get to do both.
We can do both, which is really nice.
Yeah.
We've already taken advantage of that.
And we've even parallel parked in one city.
That's right. Yeah.
Small city, but
which is
yeah.
certainly easier to do in that than in the bus.
Yeah.
So another difference. So number 10. Because it does take a little bit of time for us to pack up and go, we're not quite as apt to go get like some quick craving or something. Like when we were in the bus, especially actually in this area, in the bus we'd be sitting still. We maybe had a little bit of a rough day. It's all cloudy or something, rainy, and we're working and just like, I don't know. Hey, do you want to go grab dinner or something? Or do you want something bad for dinner? And
Chinese food.
You want some Chinese food?
Heating up some Chinese food to get good Chinese food.
And we're gonna go get some Chinese food.
Going to get Chinese food. But we did get Chinese food, and that's the important thing.
And so we would like, oh yeah, oh yeah, that sounds great. And we just run into the Subaru, go get it and come back. With the van, we can't really do that
Not as
fast.
easily.
You know, it's still a commitment. Like when we're getting ready to go, we're getting ready to go. And so, you know, we're still going to have to pack up a few things. And because of that, we're still spontaneous in the van, but we're not quite as just immediately spontaneous, certainly as it relates to food.
It's funny you say that. I think we're in the van. We're more spontaneous in the good ways, but less spontaneous in the bad ways. Going to get beer or going to get Chinese food. I really want Chinese food.
Yeah, no, we might actually get Chinese food tonight.
Get some takeout. But yeah.
But yeah, that's been one that's just, we're not quite as, for those kinds of things, typically, you know, we still, if we're going to go somewhere, we're going to go for a reason, and we commit to that. But again, it's not like packing the bus up to go for sure.
Right. Number 11, I was a little worried about this one, but it's working out. Not having a dedicated bathroom has not been that big of a deal.
Yeah, we have a space for a toilet, but it's not like, you know, it's not its own sectioned off, walled off thing. And we did that to save space, give ourselves a bit more counter space. And, you know, we felt pretty good going into it, but we weren't really sure how it was going to work out until we got out, you know, on the road. And after a month, it's not really a problem.
It's been okay.
It's been okay.
So, yeah, like you said, we kept our Nature's Head toilet. We love the Nature's Head, and it's just, you know, it's just in the van. There's no, like, you know, walled room, and we don't have like a shower like we used to. We're now using a little portable rinse kit shower as our shower. But yeah, when one of us needs to use the bathroom, we just say, hey, can you give me a minute to use
Can I have the van?
Can I have the van? And the other person, you know, sits outside for a minute, and it's really not that big a deal.
Yeah, sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's dark, but it's okay. Pretty much okay all the time. Like it has not been a big deal. And, you know, it's not like we're using that bathroom every single time we have to go, but, you know, right now it's more often because of COVID and everything. But it really has not been an issue. And, yeah, showering, I've washed off in some creeks. Tiffany, I haven't actually used the shower yet, but Tiffany used the proper shower.
I've used
the
it
rinse
twice.
kit twice now, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, we're using biodegradable soaps, and we're just doing the outdoor shower thing. And
yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, we have an option to heat that water, but so far I've taken 2 cold showers, and it's cold, but it wakes you up, and you feel refreshed, and you feel better.
And you feel clean.
So
yeah.
It makes you appreciate it more, I think.
Yeah. Number 12, there are way fewer mechanical issues in the back of our heads that could be wrong with the van, but since it's a new vehicle, and then with the bus, which was 20 years old. We had the bus looked at multiple times by multiple mechanics, and every single one gave it basically a glowing review, saying the bus looks great, you guys got really lucky. We feel like we got really lucky with the bus that we had. But still, I couldn't shake, you know, in the back of my mind that, you know, it's a 20-year-old vehicle. I don't know anything about diesel engines, and if it just felt like if it were to break down, I wouldn't know how to take care of it, and we'd have to completely rely on someone else to take care of it. And so I didn't, you know, and also, you know, having it go up hills, we didn't want to push it harder than we had to. You know, we could have lived in the bus for a long time, but we felt like, you know, for me especially, like I just wanted to have a bit more confidence. Again, I mean, it's even saying it now, it's like the bus never gave us a reason not to be confident.
But it's you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
And neither of us are any kind of mechanically inclined, and you know that the engine in the bus was completely mechanical, so it couldn't give you warnings.
It wouldn't give you like a say, hey, this you know, your oil's low, or this thing is wrong. It wouldn't throw a code. It wouldn't give you any code. We got that engine for that reason, actually. Everything we read said that engine is A, solid, B, if something did go wrong with it, it was going to be easier to fix because it's a wet sleeve design. And so with that in mind, we were like, oh, okay, great, you know, this is perfect. But still, like, for the interim, we didn't know how to take its temperature. We didn't really know how to check its health, aside from going to a mechanic And typically the mechanics, we kind of just look at it and be like, ain't fine. You know?
Yeah, we probably spent more money than we needed to getting it checked on really often because we were nervous about it and we just didn't know.
We changed the oil more than we had to because we just didn't know what we didn't know. But in the van, you know, it's a 2020. It's brand new, and yes, I understand there are going to be tons of people that say, you know, just because it's new doesn't mean there's nothing wrong with it. And fine, granted, that's true. However, chances are far less with a new vehicle. It has a warranty. We have actual diagnostics where you can see. I have an app that I can look at that will tell me if there's some sort of thing that needs to be checked, or if we're coming up on a service schedule or something. That's just, that peace of mind is really what it comes down to. I had a busy mind when it came to thinking about the bus and whatever mechanical issues it might one day have. In the van, I have a little bit more of a bird's eye view, and I feel better about that. So.
Yeah, and on top of that, you know, the bus was a diesel, which was awesome, but we went with the gas Ford because Ford Ford mechanics and Ford dealerships are all over the country. Almost every small town we go through has a Ford dealership. So we feel like if something goes wrong, we'll be more likely to be close to somebody that can help us out.
Exactly, and that's actually one of the reasons why we didn't go for a Sprinter. You know, because Sprinters, they're from Mercedes, they're diesel engines. You take care of them, they're going to last forever. But you know, if something does go wrong, and eventually something does go wrong, you've got to find a Mercedes dealership with a diesel mechanic on staff, and those get really expensive. And there's not a ton of them out there, whereas Ford dealerships are just everywhere. So anyway, and you don't even have to go to a dealership to have it worked on. But anyway, all that to say,
we feel more comfortable. We have more peace of mind, and that's worth a lot to us.
Because we're dummies when it comes to mechanics. We're artists. We don't know. What is a tire?
Look at these hipsters try to change their oil. Number 13, we do enjoy riding together. We made a video when we were in the bus. We were driving separately. I was driving behind the bus in the Subaru. There was a lot of reasons we did that. We made a video all about it if you want to see why, so we'll link to that. But I do admit it's been really nice riding together.
Yeah, no, it has been. I mean, we can relax, we can talk, we can listen to podcasts together, have good conversations, decide where we're going next easier. Like, I mean, we never argued that it wouldn't be nice to ride together, but it was also nice riding separately too. We'd have some alone time, we could listen to different podcasts, we could, I don't know, we can
scream sing. That's what I did a lot.
I just screamed.
And, you know, since I can drive the van, or I feel comfortable driving the van, we can trade off driving. I don't think Zach will ever, ask me to drive, because he just likes driving more than I do. But if he ever wasn't feeling great or something, I could, and that's huge.
Yeah, for sure. So number 14, we can't stay for quite as long in one place as we could in the bus. In the bus, we had, 63 gallons of fresh water, something like that. Right. We had 2 big tanks that were connected. In the van, we have 14. And, we did that for a couple different reasons. We like to be able to clean the tanks out a little bit faster. They're getting water replaced more often, so there's less possibility for things to grow in there. Like I said, they're easier to clean. All that stuff, but we do have to deal with it more often, and we obviously run out of water faster because 14 is a lot less than 63.
Yeah, with 63 gallons of water, we could stay put for 2 weeks.
Without having to fill up again.
Mm-hmm. Now we're finding that probably 4 days, unless we really scrimp and save.
Well, we're still sort of gauging it. We're not really sure. We haven't stayed in one place for so long and used our water straight without grabbing a drink at a gas station or something.
Right.
But right now it seems like if we're really being careful, I think we can get a full week out of both tanks, or out of the whole 14 gallons.
Well, and
which is not
in
bad.
addition to the 14 gallons, we actually carry water in the rinse kit. That's our
true.
shower water.
That's our shower water.
So that's separate. But yeah, we're able to take a shower or two in that time from that. So.
Yeah. However, we are also finding that we can stay longer regardless of water if there is a source to get water from. It sounds like a duh, but like, for example, one of the places that we camped had a stream really close by. We have a gravity filter, so we just go next to the stream, fill up our 14 gallons, and now we're reset, and we can stay there again for another week, and we can continue doing that until we run out of some other resource. But as long as we have a water source, and as long as we have like a decent spot for solar, we can kind of stay until our food runs out, which is a good thing. That's a good problem to have. So, but on the first little stretch, our first stay, if we don't have a water source or anything like that, yeah, if we're being careful, our max is a week. But if we're using it normally, probably 5 days is what we get out of it.
We'll update you guys if that changes.
we'll let you
Like
know.
you said, we're still trying to figure that out.
We'll do like a proper test soon, I think.
Number 15. So far, we're really glad that we made the switch from bus life to van life.
Yeah, I mean, we loved living in the bus. So let me start off by saying that the way we approached bus life, we really liked how we did it. We loved the bus. We loved traveling in the bus. I think what happened is that we saw the potential to move faster. We saw the potential for a few things to be taken off our plate in terms of just thinking about mechanical issues or where we were going to go in the route. And we just felt like for the style of travel that we wanted, a van would be a little bit more conducive to that. And so far, that's proven to be true.
Yeah, one of the main things that we were looking forward to in the van was being able to use altitude as our air conditioner. Yeah. We were a little nervous about taking the bus up some really steep inclines to get to those cooler temps, and now we feel confident and have already taken advantage of that. So. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons we're glad we did it. There were a lot of things that were really nice about the bus, and I do miss it.
And so for all of these differences that we've been talking about, all of these 15 things that are different, there are things that are different for us between our version of bus life and our version of van life. And those are going to be different from everyone. Somebody might look at the way we're traveling in the van and hate it and absolutely love a bus. I mean, that's a thing that happens a lot of the time. Some people want that extra space, and a bus can give that to them. So it's going to be different from everybody, but as far as how we like to travel, those have been the differences so far. And there are others. We could go on for a while getting into minutia of little things. We didn't talk about gas and stuff, which is...
That'll come.
We hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe this gives you a little bit of insight if you're thinking about, if you're in one and looking at the other, maybe this will give you a little bit of insight into what the other might be. If you're thinking of switching from a bus to a van or a van to a bus, let us know in the comments. What kinds of questions do you have about one or the other? What are your concerns? What's keeping you from moving? That kind of thing. Or if you're in one and not the other, and you're really happy about it, let us know that too.
I just want to say that we don't want to discourage anybody from going for bus life. No. Again, like Zach said, it's all about how we traveled then versus how we travel in the van. But I do want to say that I'm also really glad that we did the bus first.
Yes.
Because it was a relatively cheap way to get into this lifestyle, and we learned so much from it about what we wanted.
What we needed.
Yeah, and how we did want to travel. So it was the cheapest way to get into it, and so I wouldn't have changed the way we did it.
Yeah, I mean, it really, the bus is an amazing thing because it's such a blank canvas, and it's such a good thing to build off of, and such a good foundation.
It was also a little easier on us to go from house to the size of the bus to the van. I'm
Yeah.
afraid if we had gone straight from house to van, we probably would have burned out.
Yeah,
And now I feel
likely.
like we're more prepared to live in this teeny tiny space.
We're definitely way more prepared for this because we knew we had a good idea of what it was going to be like coming into it from the bus, and then imagining that space that we know so well smaller. We felt like we could do that, and man, thinking about moving from the house that we were in to a van, we discussed it, and we were both just like, we're not ready. I don't think we could do it, and I think that was a wise move. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one in a vlog, but until then, bye.
Bye. I want to add something.
Sure.
And if you don't use it, that's fine.
Sure. Was that it? Was that what you wanted to add?
Yes. And see. Okay. Wow, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah,
A fly attacked me.